something that I've been working on is control and the urge to want to control everything. Hang with me. I've been having a hard time. I'm going to be honest. And I don't know if it's like the time of year or if it's because we're out of COVID now, although people are saying we're going back into it. I don't know what it is, but everybody I've talked to, friends, family, people in our community, it seems like we, mainly me, are in a time of transition. My sister-in-law was visiting and she said, I feel like we're all in a joint identity crisis or crisis of identities, actually how she said it. And I actually liked that wording because I think that's kind of what I've been going through is like, who am I now? What am I doing now? I've been feeling like I want to change things up, whether it's like through the videos and what I do online or, like I'm not really feeling connected here in Austin. And I've been talking to Sean and like my therapist and my friends about it. And like, how do I bring that about? Like, I'm still trying, I'm still reaching out. I'm still trying to spend time with people in the area, trying to find, that connection that I feel like is part of who I am or what I'm about. And it's just been exhausting and difficult. And I don't know, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments, but I feel like a lot of people are going through something similar, which is why I want to talk about it here, because you can tell it's still very fresh for me. So sorry. I'm a crier. It's just how I express myself. But it just feels, even my therapist said, I feel like this is like a time of internal work for a lot of people. And I think she's right. And some of my friends who have kids are like, oh, I think it's because it's like a new school year. It feels like a brand new start. So they've been kind of going out feeling like, okay, well, now that the kids are back in a schedule, what do I want to do with my time? What do I want to accomplish this year? Feeling like it's almost like the start of a new year, right? And I know that there is something to that, but I feel like it's bigger than that. I feel like with my friends and family, we've had like a lot of just big shifts, whether it's people moving long distances. We have people in our life going through divorce. I have friends who've lost, like parents and important family members. It's just been like really tumultuous feeling and trying to figure out who we want to be now or who I want to be now. What is it that I'm passionate about? Like, it's been really hard. I think something that I've been working on is control and the urge to want to control everything. Hang with me. I am kind of a control freak, but I'm working on just like the people pleasing. And I'll talk about how I think that's connected. But something I've been noticing is there's a lot of stuff that I'd like to do more of. Like I would love to do more speaking engagements. I love meeting people in person. I think probably because COVID like starved us of that. I love to meet people in person. I love to hug them. I love to see things resonate on people's faces when I'm talking about something that I'm passionate about. That's like, there's nothing more fulfilling to me. And so I think, that would bring me a lot more joy and be much more fulfilling for me in my job. However, people have to book me to come speak. This is not a plea for that. It's just being honest. People would have to book it for me to be able to do that, for that to become more of my life. So I don't really have control over that coming to fruition, right? I can like work as hard as I want to work, but it's not going to change it. And that's left me feeling like without a sense of control. And that's really, really triggering for me. And I was talking to my therapist because I don't really like using the word triggered. So I just say it's dysregulating. And that took me down a path of like, what role is control in my life? And why is it so upsetting when I don't feel like I have it? And I always thought, oh, it's, I need control because my dad worked away from home a lot when I was growing up and it felt very out of control to me. I wanted him to be at all of my events. And I thought as a kid that if I like worked hard enough and did everything just right, then he would want to show up. I mean, he was working. It wasn't like he was choosing to not be at home. But, kid brain, right? I didn't understand that. And so I thought, oh, if I just do everything right and just perfect, then he'll show up for me. And that wasn't in my control, obviously, as it wasn't really even in his control. It was more like where his boss sends him, he has to go, right? And so as I got older, I found that like things being inconsistent or people not showing up for me when they say they're going to is like, oh, it's really dysregulating. And so as a way to kind of alleviate that, I try to be a control freak and a people pleaser because that would mean that then I always thought that then, I'm trying to make things feel calmer for me. I'm trying to ensure that people show up for me because I have pleased them, right? They like me, they'll show up for me. Their approval is incredibly important. And it led me down this path of thinking that, my control freakiness and my people pleasing urges are because my childhood felt very inconsistent and I'm trying to bring consistency to my life. It kind of made sense. And for years I've been in therapy and felt like, it fits, but it only fits like 30%. Like I feel like there's something missing. And this is why I've been encouraging all of you to journal for years. And I know you hate it, but I'm just going to say it again. But through my journaling one morning, I was just posing questions. I was like, why is it that this is so triggering? Why is it that I feel like I need to control and it ends up pushing people away? BT dub. It's not actually effective. Why do I do that? And I hate that I do it. I don't even like that part of myself. I'm like thinking and asking myself questions. And all of a sudden I'm hit with this realization. It's not about the people pleasing. It's not about control. It's actually about me proving my worth. So hang in there. I'll try to explain it to you. Hopefully it makes sense. By controlling situations, because controlling, it's not me saying someone can or can't do something. My control type of stuff is like trying to make everything just perfect and like controlling the environment and trying to make sure that everybody's having a good time. Like if Sean and I threw a party, I'd be like, did you need a drink? I like couldn't even enjoy myself because I'm so worried about everybody else. It's kind of control / people pleasing, right? They kind of mishmash. That was actually me like hustling for my worth. Like feeling like I had to earn people's attention or proving that I was worth showing up for. I'm still processing it, but it's very true. So that covered like 30% and this covers like this other component, right? And I feel like there's just a lot of like processing for me to do in my own therapy, in my own life, because I do it here too. I try to hustle to like prove that I'm important enough, which is really sad. And it's something that I hated to admit. I've been hearing from a lot of you recently that in therapy, you've been feeling like, I'm so embarrassed to share this. Or why do I want to lie? Why do I lie to my therapist? And I was thinking about it and I'm like, because when you are honest with yourself and when we show up for each other and when we're vulnerable and when we share things that are hard and that aren't fully processed or things that we try to pretend don't exist, that's a risk. It feels scary and we want to lie and we want to downplay it and we want to pretend it's not that big of a deal, right? Minimize. Because if I am honest and if I share like real stuff, the vulnerability hangover, right? The like, oh my God, people are going to judge. There's going to be shit talkers in the comments. There's going to be people at my work or family or life or whatever who are like, I can't believe you did that. That's so stupid. And I think a lot of that is just what keeps us stuck. And I think that that's kind of what's been going on. If I could like hypothesize, because this kind of, what am I doing? Who am I? This crisis of identity. For me, I think it's coming out of the fact that I've just been like pretending I'm okay, even though life has been really tumultuous for all of us. Like I'm not pretending that, I'm not trying to compare or contrast anybody's anything. It's felt very chaotic. It's felt very out of control. It's been super triggering. And it feels like right now, things have finally not calmed down, because I don't want to pretend that like things aren't still hard, but like it's calmed down enough. Or maybe I've just reached capacity so that I can actually admit how hard it's been. And I feel like maybe that's why we're in this like crisis of identity. Like, who am I? What am I doing? Like my girlfriend Joanna and I are working on this book called Live Big. So far, I love it. It's much easier to digest than The Artist's Way. The Artist's Way is great, but it's a lot of work. And sometimes I don't have the bandwidth. This book is like, you read like 2 pages and that's your chapter. And there's like 5 short exercises. And in the exercise we were doing, it asked us to define freedom. Like, what does it mean to be free? God, that was a good exercise. I encourage you to do it. What does it mean to be free? How do you define it? And then it has you do what they call like a dirty dozen. So it's like, what are 12 things really quick? You rattle off. In order to be free, I need to, I want to, I must. And you just roll through this. And 12 is a lot. So it like forces you kind of out of your thinking brain and into your like emotion brain a little bit. And it was really, really telling. And it was really helpful for me to see where I was like locking myself up. And anyways, I was talking to my girlfriend about it. Joanna, I love her so much. She's like one of my best friends. And she said, you know, that's going to be really hard because like I don't even know what I want. And I had this moment where I was like, you know what? I don't even know if we spend any time. I don't know if I've spent any time considering what it is I want more of. Like I said, I want to speak more, but is there anything else I can do to make that happen? Maybe there is. Are there other things? What about things I want in my personal life? I always focus on like work and accomplishments. Again, hustling to prove that I'm worth showing up for. Oh, so it's been a total roller coaster, but in a good way, because sometimes I feel like if I just remain stagnant, if I don't challenge myself, if I'm not honest with you, or myself, most importantly myself, about how I'm feeling and what I'm going through, then I just feel more isolated. Almost like I'm like isolating myself, even from myself, like disconnection. Like I don't want to experience that. That's uncomfortable. But I do know that if I don't sit in the discomfort, if I'm not honest, and then it only feels worse. And I know I'm not alone in this. Like I've talked to a bunch of people, friends, family, and members of our community. It just feels like we're just going through a weird, maybe we're shedding the skin of our past selves. I'd like to think that's what's happening. I also just think that maybe it's just a time of transition. Maybe it's just an assessment. It's time for some internal work. I personally have been doing a lot of like external stuff, keeping myself busy. There's lots of work to do. I'm working on a new book proposal. I'm trying to give a TED Talk. I'm trying to make the videos more interesting for you guys. I'm trying to work on myself, doing my workbooks. You know, I'm just doing this stuff with people and things. But the fact that, you know, I need to take a minute for me. I need to figure out what it is that I actually want. What am I happy about? What am I unhappy about? Why am I not prioritizing that? I don't want to take up any more of your time. That's just been what I've been going through. It's hard. I'm still processing it. I just want all of you to know that even though it's uncomfortable and even though it's messy, it looks messy, it sounds messy, it's okay. We all go through those periods. I don't have it all figured out. I'm still learning about myself. I'm still learning about how I want to be in this world, what's appropriate, what's not. Life is messy. It's complicated. It's hard. And it's okay because we'll get through it, right? You're not alone. If you've been feeling kind of some kind of way about this, like, who am I? What do I want? Know that I'm going through it too. But we'll figure it out. I'll keep asking myself those questions and I'll share along the way if you like this kind of stuff. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to be like too much. Like, it's not about me. I want to be helpful for you. Hustling for my worth. Did you catch that? I caught that. But, you know, I'd love to check in, see how we're doing. Are we continuing to work on ourselves and acknowledge where we're having a hard time? Because everybody has hard times, even me. Just because I'm a therapist doesn't mean I have it together. I'm in my own therapy, right? We got to work on our own things. Yeah. So if I've seemed a little distant or a little different, it's just because I'm in it, but I'm in it with you. And I promise I'll always be honest about it. Yeah, that's really it. Thank you for listening. I hope that was at least helpful in some way. Maybe there's just a little nugget in there. But yeah, if you want me to keep checking in on stuff like this, I'm happy to do it. But enjoy the rest of your day. All done. I didn't think I'd cry, but I did. And I sweated.